Welcome to our lecture on internet and gaming addiction. I think this form of addiction probably hits close to home for a lot of us. None of us don't use the internet, given that we are all participating in an online class. So the internet, I think, is both a blessing and a curse. We know that we live in a very technology-driven or digital world, and I don't think it's going anywhere. It's advanced over the years beyond belief. So internet and gaming addiction has been a very controversial topic within the clinical world. In fact, it's not currently recognized as an official diagnosis in the DSM-5. Currently, it is listed in Section 3, which is under conditions warranted for more clinical research and experience before it, qualifies as a formal disorder. So it's talked about, it's included, but it's not officially a diagnosis. So we can't use this diagnosis to bill insurance companies. Most of our research has been conducted in the Asian countries. You'll see that in the documentary if you haven't watched it yet. And I think that it's important to talk about, even though for this class, for purposes of this class, we're going to talk about pathological internet and gaming addiction. But I wanted to highlight addiction versus poor parenting. So anyone at any age could be addicted to internet or gaming, but kiddos are the most affected by the advanced technology as far as gaming goes. So I'd say 99% of my caseload, they all play the same type of games on Xbox. Fortnite's a big one, PUBG, Destiny. All of these are very, very popular with kids and teens. So it's really important to recognize. So if you're interested in working with children, something that I've had to be very aware and mindful is, okay, is this kid doing it? Is he gaming because he needs it and he, it's consuming his life and it's, leading to negative consequences? Or is he doing it because he has a lack of supervision and there is nothing else to do for him? If kids aren't being paid attention to, or if their parents are always on the internet or in their own world, of course they're going to find some type of outlet. So it's really important to, a lot of times I get a lot of parents who will say, well, he's always playing his game. He's always playing his game. And I say, okay, I hear that you're saying that he's always, he's spending a lot of time on this game. What would you like for him to be doing instead? So if it's getting in the way of functioning in domains, different domains of their life and it's causing impairment, then that's different. But if it, and of course you do have to take into consideration the child's age. Is a kid going to want to do his homework versus play a fun game? So there's that part too. So we just have to be careful with over pathologizing. And we really have to look at what type of parenting skills are being implemented in the households and what type of boundaries are being set. So I wanted to take some time and highlight that piece, because we can't just say, oh, mom's saying that he's spending more than 4 hours a day on his game and it's hard. He throws a tantrum when I tell him to get off of it. It goes much deeper than that. So again, for this class, we're going to talk about what it looks like when it is a problem, when it is impairing their lives. So there's overlap of substance addiction in that dopamine's released. It's a feel-good. It could serve as an escape for someone. So there's a lot of preoccupation when it becomes a problem. So maybe someone, whether they're addicted to gaming or whether they're addicted to internet porn, there's preoccupation. So always thinking about it. So and engaging in it at home or engaging in it at work. At home, it might start to cause problems. If someone's looking at porn all the time, then that could lead to a divorce. Whereas if someone's doing it during their workday, that could lead to being terminated. There's a lot of that. Let me just look just one more time. Let me just stay on this for just 20 more minutes. What can I do in 20 more minutes? And so on. So that's, it's kind of like going in with the intention of not spending too much time on it, maybe just an hour, and then all of a sudden 6 hours has passed. The person hasn't eaten. They haven't gotten a drink of water. They haven't gotten up. So that's very sedentary. They don't move and get, a healthy amount of exercise. And obviously it's taking away time that they could be spending on something else. So are they not meeting their personal or professional obligations? Are they isolating themselves? Are they eating, compulsively eating as they're playing their game and not realizing the amount of calories they're consuming? So it comes with a lot of different problems. Now, when does it become a problem? So like I said, of course, everyone is exposed to the internet. Most of us, I think it's 90% of teens are on social media. As adults, it's almost a requirement to have some type of technology, but it becomes a problem when there's impairment. So impairment is key when kind of assessing for some type of diagnosis. Even though you can't diagnose this one specifically, if it's a clinical problem, there has to be causing some impairment in their life. So whether it's causing them not, to be failing their classes, maybe they went from being a top student to being at the bottom of their class rank. If it's causing the person to not get their work tasks done, if it's causing the person to isolate and not maintain their interpersonal relationships. And how much is too much, right? So how young is too young? Well, according to the American Academia of Pediatrics, infants 18 months and younger should not be exposed to screens. So there's no reason why a child that's a year and a half or younger should have screen time, even though we're seeing a lot of this. I see kiddos, babies all the time playing with mom's iPad, mom's iPhone. The noise and activity of a screen are distracting for a child, even if the baby isn't looking directly at the screen. So, for example, if mom is nursing the child on the couch while watching TV, the baby can be overstimulated by the lights and the sounds, and that could actually cause distress and sleep problems. And I think something bigger even than that is the disconnect that it could cause between parents and children. So we know that bonding is crucial with infants and moms. And so particularly when a mother is breastfeeding, that is a time of bonding. So the more face-to-face interaction the child is having with the mom and other adults, especially eye contact, the better it is for the baby's brain development. If a mom is on her cell phone while breastfeeding or watching TV, babies are deprived of that attention. And if they are repeatedly neglected in favor of digital media, they may develop behavioral issues, attention-seeking behaviors and things like that. The TV should not be a babysitter. So this is important for parents and older adults to understand. So it's not just kids that are at risk for gaming, but there's also such thing as, addicted to screens, and adults are very much capable of developing a problem with that too. Moving back to gaming, reality versus fantasy. So this is a big one that I see in my work. When kids are playing games and they're immersed in this fantasy-like worlds, they feel a sense of control, and they feel, some, not all, but sometimes when kids are not feeling one way in their real world, they could feel another in their fantasy world. So recently I had a client who I believe is on his way to a gaming addiction. I was talking to him about what he gets from playing games for long periods of time, what he likes about it, why it's different than reality. Because anytime I would ask him a question, his responses would always be video game related, if that makes sense. He would always find a way to link back his response to something to do with his game. So if I asked how he was feeling that day, bad, why? Because this happened in my game. Good, why? Because this happened in my game. So he told me, and these were his exact words, he said, I really like playing this game because reality hurts and fantasy don't. So these people, they have more control in their fantasy, virtual reality. They have more power. I could be thinner. I could be a man instead of a woman. I could be stronger. I could be respected. These people really, really, really gain a sense of control in their virtual world where they might not be in control in their real world. Limit setting here is key. So especially for parents, you want to start here with parents and also educate and just know for yourself that more time on the internet and social media, more time the more lonely the adolescent will feel. And that too, unless, hopefully adults have more knowledge in this area and they're wise in that we know that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. But adolescents are still developing, right? They don't know that. And what is usually being promoted on social media? Pleasure, right? The good things. And like I'm sure you've all heard and are aware that people are never going to post the bad things. Some do, those who maybe different types of personalities, attention seeking, or but as far as like pictures and photos, it's always going to be the good ones. It's always going to be the photos of having fun. And so we promote pleasure, but we hide pain, right? So someone who's still developing and not cognizant of the reality of social media is thinking, why don't I look like that? Why doesn't my family look like that? Why do they have all this money to do this stuff and I don't? So it really kind of, the person can internalize it and become really discouraged, and their self-esteem is at risk for declining. In child development, there are two terms that come up for me when talking about social media and adolescence, and that is imaginary audience, which means adolescents tend to believe that all eyes are on them. So if they have one flaw or make one error, they think that everyone is looking at them. So I have a blemish on my face. Everyone's going to notice and is going to be focusing on that. I feel fat today. Everyone's going to notice and going to be talking about that. When in reality, most people are worried about themselves, right? They're not spending too much time on other people. And there's also personal fable, which means that they don't think that anyone else gets them. They don't think that they think they're different. No one understands. When we know that humans and certain developmental phases look very similar, right? So it's important also to keep in mind that kiddos who are exposed to a lot of gaming in their formative years, they are at risk of missing out on social skills, healthy social skills with real life human interaction. They may miss out, they may begin to live a very sedentary lifestyle, so not getting up for exercise, not playing outside anymore, not eating a healthy and balanced diet. So things like that are important to keep in mind. And also things about modeling behaviors. I'm sorry, guys, I got a phone call. Think and turn it inwards. So a lot of times I get parents who say, well, my kid is spending too much time on the internet. And I want to start with how much time the parents are spending on the internet. Of course, I'm going to use language that is non-offensive and just a curious tone, because you don't want a parent to become defensive, and maybe they're not spending much time on the internet, but usually they are. So kiddos, like we said, learn most by modeling and observation. If what's being modeled at the home, the kid is inevitably going to pick up on. So parents are children's main role models. Therefore, they need to set boundaries. Boundaries need to be set. And there needs to be things such as media-free times together. So dinner time maybe is a good place to start. We're going to completely unplug during dinner, no cell phones, TV's going to be turned off, and we're going to have a conversation. Sometimes, when I'm working on family bonding and kind of reconnecting disconnected families, I say, okay, we're going to figure out a time that when everyone's home from school and work, that screen time is going to be completely shut off. And it's almost like usually the kiddos especially go into a state of panic, and they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, okay, you're going to talk. How about talk? Try that. See how it feels. And this also promotes sense of self. So it's really important that kiddos learn to sit with themselves, be in quiet, be present, be mindful. This is a great opportunity to promote mindfulness, meditation, and just kind of remaining present and in the here and now, because that's a very healthy behavior. And that will be remaining mindful will help decrease the likelihood of developing unhealthy coping skills. And adults too. A lot of us aren't good at this. A lot of us are always preoccupied with things we need to do. It's hard for us to kind of sit still and just kind of be in a quiet space and be in a space where it's just us. It's always about what we need to do or doing something, thinking about what I need to do. So this is a really good time to promote mindfulness, practice mindfulness. And also it's important to keep tech devices out of bedrooms. So what we really say, and we know about like healthy sleep hygiene, is the bed should only be used for sleep. And in adults' case, sex. Sleep and sex for adults, sleep for kids. Because if the bed starts to be associated with, this is the place where I play on my laptop or my iPad, or this is a place where I eat, you start to associate your bed with that behavior. But if we don't do anything else in our bed other than sleep, then our brain won't associate the bed with an additional behavior, and that will therefore help with quality of sleep. And as with anything, moderation is key, right? Anything, too much of anything is not good. So we must remain realistic, but also mindful. So it's unrealistic for me to say, oh, keep your child away from all screens, because that's where our technology is advanced and beyond belief. It's only going to go further. So as long as we're staying mindful with how we use it, then we'll be okay. And same with, I teach adolescents. I'm not going to tell you to stay off social media. I think that some kiddos, it's probably best for them to stay off of it. But I also understand that's a way of fitting in. That's a way of connection. So you don't have to let it destroy you. And that's why it's really important to educate our clients with this, because it's not going anywhere. So we have to learn how to have a healthy relationship. Some might argue that it's kind of like a sex addiction or a food addiction, because we have to eat, right? We have to have sex, or we have to, like gambling, we have to learn to manage our money. This is something also that we have to learn to live with. So I thought that it'd be interesting for us all to do an experiment. Unplug for a day and see how you respond. Now, I know this might not be realistic given that we are in an online class and you have online schoolwork, but maybe take a break from your cell phone for a few hours. Notice that. Notice what comes up for you. Notice your reactions. Do you go in a state of panic? I know personally, when I realize I leave my cell phone somewhere and my automatic reaction is, oh my God, I have to go home and get it. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to go this place without my cell phone. And, then I have to think about it rationally. Is this something that, I'm going to be gone all day and need my cell phone for practical purposes? Or am I just running to the store? I'll be okay. So I know that we've all been guilty of this, and it's not a bad thing. It's not, but it's just important because it can get out of hand. And we need to focus on ourselves with this, because if we're promoting this with our clients but we're not doing it ourselves, then it's going to come off not authentic, right? It's not going to sound genuine. I really believe that we could only take clients as far as we've gone personally, and that's my own belief as a clinician. You might think otherwise, and that's perfectly okay, but I think that if I'm promoting mindfulness, but I don't even know how to be mindfulness myself, people pick up on that, especially kids. Clients realize when you're not being genuine, and it just doesn't come off authentic. So I think it's important to kind of practice what we preach, not saying that we have to be perfect, certainly, as we are human, right? We all have the areas that we could afford to grow in, but it's also important to be a healthy clinician, because that is inevitably going to affect your work with clients. And I say disconnect to reconnect, right? So disconnect. Social media started, Facebook, MySpace, all the earlier social media started as a way to connect with others. But I think it's gone so far that we've actually disconnected with real life connection. So to reconnect, we must disconnect, right? And practice safe social. So if you're having an adverse response and everything I'm saying can be applied towards client work too, but if you're having like this negative reaction towards a post you saw, look at that. What is underlying there? Is that really about the person, or is that about something about me that I don't like? So it's important just to explore all of that. And if you do choose to engage in this experiment, please share about it if you're comfortable doing so. Share about it in the personal experience forum. I'd love to hear about it. I know that I've unplugged and have had some interesting reactions, so I'd love to hear about yours. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover in this lecture. Please, please, please ask questions if you have them. Highlight things that are interesting to you, and I will see you in the next lecture. Take care.